What's up? This is Patrick of Radicards.com, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the top 10 non-Frank Thomas baseball cards I acquired in 2018. Okay, so again, 2018 was an interesting year because I made an active decision to stop collecting post-career Frank Thomas cards because, I mean, let's face it, if you collected in the 90s and your guy's like retired in Hall of Fame, the amount of stuff that is produced for your player every year now is like completely overwhelming. So I just made a decision to stop collecting like 99.9% of it. I'm like, I'm done. There's too much of it. If I might cherry pick like a run of something like it's very manageable. Like the cards are inexpensive and there's not that many of them. But for the most part, I've sort of checked out. This may change later, but for now, I just don't want to deal with it. I just focus on career year stuff. So in 2018, I focused my efforts on obviously career year Thomas stuff, but then I was like, well, this stuff is so rare that I still need. Let's play around with non-Thomas stuff. There's a lot of stuff that are non-Frank Thomas cards, like other players I just dig. So this video is going to showcase the top 10 baseball cards of 2018 that are not Frank Thomas cards. So let's get right into it here. Oh, this is a great card. 2011 Bowman Chrome, Pete Kozma, Gold Canary, Diamond, parallel number to 1. The reason why I'm introducing this video with this card, well, okay, Pete Kozma, not a big deal, whatever, but he was in the World Series like one year for the Cardinals, and I remember like his stuff sold pretty well back then. I was like, well, maybe I'll find something of his that's decent. This card is beautiful. I mean, look at that pop. You can't deny the beauty of these cards. They are freaking fantastic. But the reason why I'm introducing this video is because of obviously how amazing the card looks, and that I have this like kind of interest in Pete Kozma stuff because of my memories from when he was in the World Series some years back. But because of what I paid for this card. Now this card was through Burbank, and it was like $50 at like a buy it now. I was like, man, that's a lot for a Pete Kozma card, even if it's a 101. So I waited, and then get this. Okay, I had eBay bucks. All right. And then eBay was also putting in a promotion for or something off, like a total. It was a big promotion. And then if you spend $50 at Burbank, they give you free shipping. So with the combination of that, I think I came home with this for like $13. I'm like, my gosh, deal of the century for Pete Kozma stuff, right? $13 for the 2011 Bowman Chrome, Gold Canary Diamond, number to 1. All right, football cards make it into the list this year. So this is 2010 Playoff Contenders Championship Ticket, number to 1. This is a 1 of 1. This is like the card to get for the like football rookies for contenders. This is the Jimmy Clausen. He was a Notre Dame star, superstar in high school and in college. Was drafted with the Carolina Panthers and spent a year there, and then Cam Newton came in and sort of took his spot. So his career didn't really take off professionally in that way. He still plays football, just not the professional level. But I remember Colt McCoy, and Tim Tebow were like the big 3 rookies in 2010. And so every now and then I'll go on and look for like their cards, see if there's anything in the market that might spark my interest. For the most part, most of it doesn't, because they entered the market at a time when football cards were mainly focused on intricate patches, swatches, and autographs, plates, and all this relic stuff. A lot of that stuff I don't really buy. So this card, when I saw it, I was like, well, that's a nice one to add because it's subtle. It's got a pretty decent autograph. There's nothing thrown into the card, nothing embedded. It's a classic card. And it's Playoff Contenders featuring Jimmy Clausen in his rookie year. I thought it was a great ad. I liked it. This is a good card. You're going to get naysayers like, dude, why'd you put in Jimmy Clausen? I'm like, dude, I happen to like Jimmy Clausen. I think it's cool that he was such a powerful and dominant high school quarterback, and then went to go on to pursue Notre Dame after his football career kind of ended, and he graduated from Notre Dame. He's a good dude, and he's still pursuing his passion of football in some way. I think he plays with like a league of some capacity. And I know that he has given pointers to Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield, as you know, is a star with the Browns. And so I wanted to talk about this because football cards are also interesting. There's so much cool stuff in football and basketball and hockey and other sports. And I wanted to talk about this card because I think it's an important touch piece for my collection, because my football card collection is so small. But I wanted to add something in this year that I think would make the list. And this is a 1 of 1. So this is the 2010 Playoff Contenders Championship Ticket 1 of 1 parallel, Jimmy Clausen. Okay, this is a great card. Now, I got this for cheap because of the auction title was misspelled. The seller misspelled the last name. It was either 2 E's or 2 I's. It was I can't remember, but the last name was misspelled, and so when I saw this for the buy it now that it was, I was like, I'm gonna have to get this card it's so cheap. I think if it had sold auction style, correctly listed with proper spelling, it would have done a little better. But because Ubaldo Mendez is no longer like relevant in the hobby or even in baseball, it probably wouldn't have done that much better than what I paid for it. Granted, it was already so cheap, so even if it did do a little bit better, I probably still would have went for it. But this is the 2007 Bowman Chrome Red Refractor number /5. I like this card. I remember in 2010 hearing about this guy, and he was a really dominant pitcher for a time. And I remember his stuff not really being touchable for a minute because he was collected at the time. So I've picked up a couple different parallels of this card over the years. I think it's a good picture of him pitching. And it reminds me of a time in my life where collecting was really exciting. And it always is exciting. But at this time in my life, other things were stressing me out, and trading cards was the only thing that kept me calm. And that's why it's like almost romantic. Like trading cards are like such a part of me in that way. And this reminds me of one of those times in my life where trading cards were very mentally calming. So this is the 2007 Bowman Chrome Red Refractor, number /5, Ubaldo Jimenez rookie card. Oh, love this. This is great. 1962 Topps, Jim Fregosi, rookie. So I am a University of New Mexico grad 3 times over, and Jim Fregosi is also a University of New Mexico grad. And I actually didn't necessarily buy this for that reason, although that's a nice little add-in. I have a buddy who lives in LA who he and I hop on podcasts together sometimes. He's my podcast co-host, or he's one of them. So my buddy Ryan has been a big fan of the Angels for a long time. And I remember I used to hang out with him and we'd go to card shops together, and he grabbed this card once. He's like, ooh, Fregosi. And I was like, oh, really? Tell me about I learned about him through Ryan. And so as I find these cards in bargain bins, I grab them. I still have a bunch of beater copies of this card. I went online last year and I was like, oh, let's see if I can find a really nice example of this card. I don't know if I found a 7. I was like, that's nice. I mean, 62 Topps. Anything above a 6 is like, to me, that's like high end. Because those borders on these cards with that brown, awesome wood sort of design, man, that stuff frays so easily. Whenever you have solid colors going against the edge, you're going to have condition sensitivity. And 62 Topps is notorious for condition sensitivity in that way. And so when I found this, I want it, and it was pretty cheap. There's not a big market for Jim Fregosi stuff, but I will say this. High-end, high-grade 62 Topps, no matter the player, you're going to find serious dollar figures. Like there are registry collectors, set collectors, these kind of guys, and they go after this stuff pretty aggressively. I mean, look at that centering. It's beautiful, you know? So this is a 1962 Topps Jim Fregosi rookie card, PSA 7. Awesome card. Ryan, if you're listening, thanks. I've learned a lot from you over the years, and I'm glad we're still friends. Speaking of 62 Topps, 2011 Topps Heritage brought the design back, and so all the cards in that set feature that design. And this is the Real One Dual Auto featuring Bob Gibson and Steven Strasburg, on-card autographed, serial number to 25. I mean, this is a great addition to my collection. What an awesome, awesome card. You got Bob Gibson, who still writes his name beautifully, and Steven Strasburg. I mean, I'm a fan. Like, I side PC some of his rookie era stuff between like '08 and 2011. Like that era of cards of his, that's kind of where I go. So this really fit in nicely to my collection. Again, you got those borders with the like wood grain design going to the edge, so you're going to have some slight corner issues. It's going to be very fussy, which is why this graded out at 8.5. I'm fine with that. I don't need a 10. I'm happy with this 8.5. It's a beautiful card. Interesting story about Bob Gibson. Back in 2003, I bought a pack of fan favorites. You guys might remember that set that Topps did. And I pulled a buyback 75 Topps Bob Gibson signed. And ended up selling it for a small Frank Thomas collection or whatever. I mean, it's a random card that is an awesome card, but Bob Gibson has signed so many cards like that over the years that I can replace it. When I saw this one, this essentially replaces that because it's a great Bob Gibson card in addition to a great Steven Strasburg card. Good addition to my collection. Excellent segue from the Jim Fregosi. So this is the 2011 Topps Heritage Real One Dual Auto Bob Gibson and Steven Strasburg. Serial number to 25 copies. Oh gosh, this card is so cool. So cool. This is 2009 Topps Chrome Red Refractor Prototype. Jason Hayward. Okay, so Jason Hayward made his debut in April of 2010. So technically speaking, a card like this would have never had any reason to enter market, because you can't put the rookie card logo on a card until the player has logged enough, has logged the requirements to obtain rookie status. There's a rule here, okay? Which is why you see certain cards like, for example, 2010 Bowman Chrome Prospect Steven Strasburg, it says first Bowman on it, first Bowman Chrome. But then when he makes his MLB debut and then Bowman Chrome releases Bowman Chrome draft picks or Bowman Chrome, the standard run, it has the RC logo on it. Okay. Oh, mind you, also 2009 is the last year that this rookie card logo design existed. And then in 2010, it was just the RC logo. Just a little side tip, side info for you, side fact. So this Jason Hayward card, even though it has the rookie card logo on it and it has a Topps certified autograph issue area for the sticker, I assume that's for a sticker. And Jason Hayward didn't make his debut until the following year, 2010. It's my understanding that there's no other thing to think about here, that this would have been produced for in-house meeting for a design meeting. It's like, here, this is what the project's going to look like. Jason Hayward's a big star, so we're going to use him on this like card to have this dialogue about the design for 2009 Topps Chrome. What do you guys think? I guess, yeah, it's cool. It's not Tommy Hansen, but it's still cool. I say that because Tommy Hansen has a card in 2009 Topps Chrome that doesn't have a card number on the back of it. But that card, I think, was actually legitimately issued, and he was also with the Atlanta Braves. But this card, like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. And then what do you do with it after that? I don't know. It probably ends up in the hands of somebody who backdoors it and sells it on the secondary market. So this card, I don't know if there's another example of this card, because if it was printed for that reason of internal meeting, and I know that there are certain cards that have been printed for that way and the print run has been more than one, so maybe there's more than one of this. And I also don't think it would make any sense to print one card of anything, because you're printing on sheets and you're cutting the sheets out. So economically, it would just make sense to print a few of whatever the sheet and then print a few different players or whatever. I don't know. I don't work at Topps. I don't live in New York. So I just look at this card as like, there's a mystery behind it, but I think I have a pretty good understanding of maybe why it was produced for a marketing meeting internally in-house to decide and discuss the design of 2009 Topps Chrome. So there you have it. This is the not supposed to actually exist Jason Hayward card from 2009 Topps Chrome. This is the Red Refractor Prototype is what I like to call it. Great card to have. This was an awesome. In fact, you know what's interesting? When I saw this listed on bin on eBay, I was like, I let it sit for a day. I was like, you know what? I should probably go buy that. I don't think I'm going to see another one. I'm going to kick myself if it sells. So I haven't bought it. I was like, I had an OBO and I offered, and I was like, I'm not even gonna wait for the offer to be like get a response. I'm just gonna buy it outright. You ever have one of those situations where you see such a good deal in as OBO and you place a bid and then place an offer, and then all of a sudden it sells, somebody else buys it because they are more aggressive at it than you are. Yeah, I try not to let those things happen. So especially for certain items that are of mission critical significance, such as this one. It's better just to buy it outright and be done with it and get it out of the way. And even if you could have saved $15, is the headache and the like resentment over not buying, hitting the bin worth $15? It's priceless. So of course I'm going to pay the $15 extra to make sure I get it in the archive. So that alone, this is just a really great card to have, and I'm glad I got it. So again, 2009 Topps Chrome Red Refractor Prototype Jason Hayward rookie card that shouldn't actually exist. Oh gosh, this is so rad. I love this stuff. 2005, Topps did a run of cards that featured replicas of the classics, some of the classics. And they did like a refractor finish, number to 15, and then a gold refractor finish, number to 1. And that's what this is. And it's Topps like All-Star Rookie Cup. Gold refractor number to 1. This is the Eddie Murray. This stuff is so cool, and I just never see it. And the seller who had this had also the basic silver refractor number to 15. I was like, well, if I could just get the gold one, I'm good. I've always loved this card. The Eddie Murray rookie card from 78 Topps is one of my all-time favorite rookie cards in all of sports cards. I just love this card. And Eddie Murray, like, how can you go wrong? He's Eddie Murray. So 2012, I went to the National, and Eddie Murray was signing, so I brought with me a really low-grade copy of his O-Pee-Chee rookie card. And I had my buddy was like, dude, I got VIP, like super VIP, give it to me, I'll have him sign it. I was like, awesome. So he took my card, had him sign it, and took a picture with him, and then brought it back to me. I had it. I went to PSA and had it slabbed. It's on the museum if you want to go take a look. Cool card. I really like this card a lot. So when I saw this gold refractor 1 of 1, I was like, I got to have it. Surprisingly, there was some competition for this card. Usually for stuff like this, the competition is not as ambitious as I expect. It wasn't a lot. There wasn't a ton of competition, but there were more bids than I expected to see on this card. So I really like this set. I think Topps did a great job producing a set featuring commemorating essentially all the Rookie Cup cards, All-Star Rookie Cup cards. I always like that classic All-Star Rookie Cup logo. Now there's that one in the 60s, the tall one. I actually prefer this design better because it takes up less real estate on the card and it has a classic look to it. I'm just reminded of memories of being a child when I see these cards with this little logo on it. A lot of times I think of the 90 Topps Ken Griffey Jr. That one just kind of comes to mind. And some others that are there that come to mind as well. I think the 87 Topps Wally Joyner is another card that comes to mind. So again, 2005 Topps All-Star Rookie Cup Gold Refractor 1 of 1 Eddie Murray. Oh yes, love this stuff. Let's just ponder and let's just stare at this card for just a sec. Okay, that was a good second. This is 2001 private stock. This is the Canvas 1 of 1 parallel for Roger Clemens. So this is another one of those cards that unless you flip it over, you wouldn't really know that it's the 1 of 1 because private stock did a basic artist canvas like non-parallel version of this. And if you didn't take a look at the actual material it's printed on, you might just skip over it. You know, I love that about some of this stuff in the early 2000s is that you have to have like an intricate understanding of the product. You have like a detailed, firm grasp on what you're handling, what you're looking at. You know, detail is important. Attention to detail in the hobby is of paramount significance, and no pun intended, because Pacific did a paramount line. When I saw this, I was like, well, this is the first encounter I've ever seen of these 1 of 1s. It's got to be because of the material it's printed on. And sure enough, when I got it in hand, these are very fragile. You know, I had to be very careful when putting in a penny sleeve and then putting in this card saver 1. But now I have it in this archive, and it's beautiful. It's a great card, and despite Roger Clemens' reputation, I am actually a big fan of Roger Clemens. I think he was a fantastic pitcher in the 80s and 90s, and his whole career essentially. And I was glad to get the Roger Clemens into the archive, and I think this is a great card to have. This is the 2001 Private Stock Canvas 1 of 1. That's funny. I'm trying to remember the exact titles as I'm talking, but I'm doing this as like a presentation, and then what you're watching right now is the final product that has the titles below. So as I made this video that you're watching, I double checked the titles of the cards and then added in the accurate ones in the titles below that you're watching now. So that's why when I'm saying a title of a card, it might not be exactly right, but the title below that you see, that's exactly right. Love this. Love this card. So rad. 1998, Pacific Crown Royal. Firestone on baseball autograph, number to 8. Travis Lee. So I side PC a couple of guys beyond Frank Thomas, but my focus or my foci with these players varies. I'm very particular about what I buy. It has to be of significance to some amount of degree, because I'm never going to master collect anybody else but Thomas because of how much time goes into doing that. I just don't have enough time on this earth to PC like I PC Frank Thomas any other player. So I would never master collect Travis Lee or Steven Strasburg or Ben Grieve or any of the guys that I grew up liking and collecting. And because it's just too expensive and too time consuming, too resource encompassing, it's just too much. But every now and then I'll come across a card, I'm like, man, I got to get that. And this was one of those times, I got to get that card. This was a bin, and I think I want to say there was an OBO. I can't remember, but I know it was a bin. And I just hit it as soon as I saw it, because I was like, even if it's high for what it is, it's Travis Lee. It's it's a great card, signed by Roy Firestone. And I was like, well, I'm gonna grab that. I never see these. I don't know if I'll see another one. I just love these cards. Great action shot of Lee. I mean, look at that. It's post swing. I just love that. It's so cool. I look at images of cards, and the action shots on the cards I can really appreciate. There's certain things about other collectors I've learned over the time. I have a friend who turned me on to being more aware of the quality of an autograph on a card. After I talked with him over the course of several encounters, I learned to pay closer attention to the quality of the signature, how it swoops around, or if the ink is faded, or the placement of the autograph on the card, because of him. Another gentleman got me turned on to action shot photography of the player, the position of the player in action. I didn't really pay attention to that stuff growing up. As I've gotten to know some of the other player collectors throughout the ethos of the hobby, I've learned from them, and it's my hope that they learn from me, obviously. But I learned to embrace the quality of action shots. On some high-end cards, say one guy PCs a player in the 98 Donruss Crusade run, and his player's action shot is not desirable, and it's because of that he doesn't pursue the set or his set of cards in the run. And I'm like, man, that's taking a little bit too far. I wouldn't let it get to me that badly. I wouldn't let it get to me at all. Really, to me, I don't mind action shots no matter, but I pay attention to them now. I'm more aware of them now than ever because of that. But it won't deter me from buying a rare card. I'll always go after something regardless of the action shot. I am now just more aware of action shots. So anyway, I just want to talk about this. This card's great. This is 1998 Pacific Crown Royal. Firestone on baseball, autographed by Roy Firestone. And this is a print run of 8. Travis Lee. Oh gosh, this card. Okay, so this is the last card in the list here, and the reason why I put it at number 1 is because I'd looked for this card for years and years and years in this grade. Okay, in this grade and with great eye appeal. The reason why I'm putting 85 Topps Joe Carter, which is not a rookie card, by the way, but it is first Topps card, FTC is what they call it. And he was traded from the Cubs to the Indians, the 84-85 year. So his 84 Donruss, he's on the Cubs. 85 anything, he's on the Indians. So here's another story for you. Pull the popcorn back out. I would say 1996, maybe 97. During the like hotel ballroom card show era, there was a card show at a hotel, and it was like a corridor room. It was like a long, narrow room, and with one entrance, and there were tables like rounding the walls, just lining the walls. And it was at that show that I picked up a really beater copy of a 69 Topps Pete Rose, and I was really happy about it. I still have that card in my collection even now. And a couple tables down, I found a raw copy of the 85 Topps Joe Carter, and I was like, oh, sweet, the FTC. At the time, the Beckett included an exclamation mark in the listing for this card and in their publication. And I remember thinking, usually the exclamation mark means like it's an important card in the set. And it was worth like $2.50. And I was like, man, I got to find a way to get that card. I was young. And so I found this card, and I think I got a base card for, it was like $1, $1.50. I don't remember what I paid for the base that time. It was my first copy of the card. I'm like, man, I got so cool. I got the 85 Topps Joe Carter. I was so excited. And I went home, and I still have that copy along with probably a brick. 20 or 30 other copies of this card. I have quite a few base copies. I bought a lot of them back in, I want to say like early business school, late undergrad. I think it was early business school. I bought a lot of these looking for a good centered example, and all the ones I got in the lot were off-centered. So fast forward to I'd say like, the earlier part of the 2010s, and I started looking for a PSA 10 copy of this card. And it had proven to be extremely difficult for years and years and years. And when you look for a card ardently and you come across everything else that's listed, like reprints, PSA 10 reprint from 2001. I'm like, I don't want a reprint. I want the actual card. And then you like post something on a message board saying, hey, I'm looking for the PSA 10 example of the 85 Topps Joe Carter. And then the response you get is like, oh, there's a reprint PSA 10 on eBay. I don't know if you saw it. I was like, dude, really? You don't think I'd already looked for that stuff on eBay and came across that? Like, honestly, logically, it's just, I don't want to, that was like kind of too bad that I got that response. I was like kind of bummed out when I got that reply from somebody. I was like, obviously I would have come across that. If I've been looking for this for so long, and my last measure is to go onto a community forum and post them looking for this, don't you think I would have already seen that listing? Anyway, whatever. It was, I appreciate the help, and that's fine. But years would pass, and I was like, man, I got to find a way to get this card. So the reason why I wanted this card is because in the mid-90s, I had gone to a kid's house up my parents' neighborhood, or I was living with my parents, obviously I was a kid, and he collected baseball cards, and he lent me a binder of his cards to look at and to say, look through them. If there's anything you want, come back and we'll make a deal. It was at night, and I was walking along the street, and there's this lamp post, this little tall light post there in the corner of one of the streets as I walk home. And I was carrying this binder, and I was thinking about, as I was crossing the street or coming off the sidewalk into that street, what I was thinking about was the 89 Fleer Joe Carter card, because he had a couple pages of Joe Carter in his binder, and one of them was that card. And I was like, okay, so that memory imprinted in my mind. Now, every single time after that point, when I walk across onto that corner, onto that sidewalk, I think about Joe Carter and that card. and I associated that was like, well, maybe one day I'll do, as I got older and as I created Radicards and I visited my parents, my mom, and I'd walk that street again, like walking a dog or something. I'd always think about Joe Carter when I walk along that street because of that memory of me carrying that kid's binder with me, which I ended up giving the binder back, but he wasn't home. So I put the binder in between the screen door and the front door. And I just hope to this day that he got it, because they don't live there anymore. I mean, that was many, many years, over 20 years ago. But I always thought, since I created Radicards, I'd shoot a video on that street, on that area, that patch of sidewalk where I remember having this rich memory of Joe Carter, 89 Fleer. and I would talk about the 85 Topps card. I would like sit and do a dialogue on the 85's Topps card. I would record a video about this card at that spot. I think it'd be very timely. Again, this is probably just significant to me, obviously nobody else, but to me that's kind of important because it brings me back to my memory of when I bought the 85 Topps Joe Carter. So here we are, finally 2018. Well, actually last year now. This is October 2019 as I record this. And one surfaces. Mind you, there had been like one or two examples before I acquired this one that surfaced PSA 10s, and they're progressively more expensive at every instance. But the centering was off, like left to right. It just wasn't good. I was like, I don't want that. And then I looked at the pop report. The pop report on this is pretty low. But 85 Topps is notoriously for bad centering and other issues. So like pop reports for 10s are just, they're low. 85 is what I consider the last year before we jump into the junk wax era. To me, the junk wax era starts in 86 and ends in 93. So 85 was the last year where quality was like an issue, like a serious issue, to where it impacted a lot of the cards in 85, especially Topps. But here we are. I got this PSA 10. Finally saw one online that had presented beautifully. Look at the centering on this card. It's just near perfection. And it was expensive, but I was like, well, I don't think it's going to get any better than this. And if it does, the price is going to be a lot higher. And I don't know if it's going to get any better in terms of eye appeal. The registry on this card's nearly perfect. The centering is pretty much perfect. The color is beautiful. It's just a gorgeous card. And I love that I finally got this because I acquired the Tiffany version of this in a 10, I think like back in like 5 years prior to that. 5 or 6 years prior to that. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep my eyes out for the base Topps version as well. And I finally got this card last year. I was so excited. So I haven't shot that Joe Carter video yet, but I'll eventually plan on doing that. That's like one of the things I want to do is talk about the 85 Topps Joe Carter on the patch of sidewalk near my mom's house where I always remember that memory of carrying that binder and that couple of pages with that 89 Fleer Joe Carter card. Crazy, right? The stuff you remember when you're young. So there you have it. This is the 85 Topps, the 1985 Topps Joe Carter, first Topps card in PSA 10 condition. I hope you liked that. This was the top 10 cards that I acquired in 2018 that are not Frank Thomas cards. These are the everything else baseball cards. Oh, everything else trading cards because I got a Jimmy Clausen in there. I like that though. I think it's cool to like throw another sports card in there. I might do that again in 2019. But anyway, tell me what you think. Leave a comment. There's something in here I talked about that resonated with you, or that you didn't know existed maybe, or that you're like, wow, that's cool. Let me know in the comments area below, either on the blog or on YouTube or wherever. I always look for comments published on the blog, but you can post them wherever you want. Thank you for tuning in to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Reno, and until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this content, please subscribe. Thank you. Enjoy collecting.